The definition of a soul is the spiritual or immaterial part of a human being or animal, regarded as immortal. What this means is that we are not our bodies. Our bodies are simply the vehicles that carry our souls, our true divine selves, and this immaterial part of ourselves never dies. All souls that exist originated from one single source. Some call it God, the divine, or the universe, just to name a few. It really doesn't matter what you call it. I like to call it the universe. It is absolutely pure and perfect. It has no ego, it's pure love and is infinite. When each individual soul is created, a part of the universe is put into it, and the rest is made up of the true essence of who you are as a being. This soul is then put into a body that will carry it for a temporary amount of time. This body could be in the form of a person or an animal. Billions of these souls are created, and while they are placed in bodies that may take many different forms, within each and every soul is a piece from that same one perfect and pure universe. While the soul is in its earthly body, its experiences are influenced by the personality and ego of that particular body. Say this soul is you. Inside of you is this piece of divine pureness that comes from the universe, but you are also an individual soul. And as an individual, you are free to make your own choices about how you choose to live your life. You are free to make either soul choices, those good choices that are for your highest good. On the other hand, you can choose to make ego choices that may be bad and selfish and bring hurt to yourself or others. If you spend your life in that body making bad choices, living from ego without regard to your true self or others, it is more than likely that your soul will not have completed any of its soul missions, and you will have to come back again in a different body. If a soul returns to the earth, it does not necessarily mean that it is because the soul made ego choices in its last incarnation. That is just one of the reasons that souls reincarnate. It could also mean that the soul still had things it needed to learn or experience, but I will go into this in further detail in the next lessons on soul agreements and soul missions. Souls that are born into the body of an animal retain their intuition. It is for this reason that animals have access more easily to universal consciousness than most humans. This connection with universal consciousness enables animals to be aware that they come from this one universal source, that their current body is temporary, and that when that current body fails, they will either have the choice to work in spirit form or come back to earth again in a different form or body of their choosing. Animals know that their essence will continue with or without a body, and it is for this reason that they are not as attached to their bodies as we are. Animals are also aware that when the time comes that they must leave their body and pass into spirit, they can easily choose a new body and decide to come back to the physical world again. However, not all will choose this. There are animals who enjoy living as spirit. They enjoy the freedom of the soul in its purest form to come and go as they please, without form or restriction. This is also why some animals will decide to stay in spirit for a time after having lived a particularly difficult physical life or having experienced a traumatic death. Animals are aware of the many options that we have as souls. This gives them a great sense of comfort, and it is something that they would like us all to know. Now, up to a point, humans also have an innate access to the universal knowledge, and this is the reason that young children appear to have such vivid imaginations, talking with beings we can't see, living with wild abandon and enjoyment the same way that many animals do. Like animals, they still have knowledge of this pure and loving universal source, and this gives them a sense of playfulness and peace. The difference with humans is that sadly this is conditioned out of them as they grow older. This usually happens by the age of 7. Children forget their previous lifetimes and their connection to the universe as their ego develops, and they are told that certain things don't exist and are merely their imagination. It is usually from this point that humans start learning to work from ego and to concentrate less and less on their intuition. I received amazing insight into the flexibility of the soul during what I believed was a regular communication with the cat in spirit. I was happily chatting away with this sweet little cat Milo when his guardian asked me if there was anyone with him in spirit. This is quite a common question, but his answer was far from the usual. Milo started to describe to me a man that he was looking after in spirit. This seemed strange at first, because animals generally tell me of how they are being looked after, not the other way around. I passed on Milo's very clear description to his person, and she was shocked into silence. She asked me to confirm again that the man with Milo was in spirit. I did, and Milo confirmed that he had found this man and was watching over him, at which point the man himself came through and introduced himself, although the communication was very basic. I couldn't believe it when Milo's person finally told me that the man in spirit that Milo had so accurately described was her loved one, who was actually currently lying in a coma but was expected to recover. This is the first time I've ever had such a strange case as this, but it really shows you what the soul is capable of and how much we as humans still have to learn about it. Sadly, this poor woman became quite obsessed with hearing from the man in the coma, and as I work with animals and not people, I had to decline to conduct further sessions. Just knowing that it's even possible to speak with the soul when it is in this state, where the body is technically alive but is not responding, was a great experience for me and of great comfort to my client. All thanks to the help of one very clever little cat. I would like to finish this lesson on souls by briefly discussing about lost animals. I have been asked by several students to explain how to tell if a lost animal is alive or deceased. It is because of this experience that I have just shared with you that I do not believe in telling people if their animal has passed in lost animal cases. One of the first things that someone with a lost animal might want to know is if their animal is still alive. However, as you have just learnt from the story of the man in the coma, the concept of being alive or in spirit is far too subjective, in my opinion, to be able to give a definitive answer when an animal's life could be at stake. Passing on that kind of message comes with a massive amount of responsibility and should never be taken lightly. One of the biggest issues that many animal communicators have is being able to tell the animal's person if the animal is still alive. It is one of the hardest parts of animal communication and one of the reasons that many communicators do not work with lost animals. The problem is that the soul never dies, and in some cases, if an animal has died suddenly, they are not immediately aware that they have passed, and their spirit can continue to move around the earth as if it was still in its body. So when a communicator checks in with the animal that's lost, the animal may well convey to them that they are still moving and continue to describe what they see around them. This is especially common in animals killed on roads or by wild animals, and is similar to being in a state of shock. From what I have learned, the best way to deal with this confusion is to not feel for the animal's energy, because the animal is still alive, even in death. Instead, to ask the animal questions about her physical condition. An animal that is lost but still alive will be able to tell you how her body feels. Many will describe being in pain or being tired or hungry. An animal that has passed will not share information about her physical state because she no longer has one. Now, an animal in spirit will happily tell you that they are no longer in physical pain, and many will describe how they look in spirit, but this is done for the benefit of the animal's person, as they have no actual physical body to speak of. In times of extreme distress, it is also possible for an animal's soul to temporarily leave the body. If a communicator were to check at this moment if the animal is in her physical body, and receive a no, the communicator might wrongly tell the animal's person that their animal has left her body. She has left her body, yes, but she will return, like the man in the coma. And what if her person is now no longer looking for her because they believe her to have passed away? Maybe the animal is in extreme pain and so temporarily left her body, but is still very much alive. How horrible to think of no one coming to find her. I hope with this lesson you can now start to understand just how flexible the soul really is. In regards to lost animals in particular, how we must keep this information in mind, so as not to make any assumptions, because an animal's life might depend on it.